All right, so in that last one, we finished off where we had a modal pop-up with a input for email. And we didn't actually set up the form, so what we're going to do in this one is, first off, we're going to set up the form using standard Django forms and a request rendered form. That basically means that it's going to be coming from a view and it's going to render the form inside of this modal. And then we are going to actually submit the data as if it was a normal form. And then in future videos, we'll actually turn that into an AJAX form so we can actually have it work there. All right, so what I'm going to do is have that form actually come up on the home page here. And we're going to do it where the modal is always going to be shown. So on base.html, I'm going to get rid of the set timeout for now. And I'm just going to run the function of show modal. So going back into our base.html, the modal is always going to show right away. This is so we can at least test it out. And now I need to actually create a form that's going to work for this home page. Now, since this will eventually be marketing data, I'm going to put it into the marketing app. So new file in here, save it as forms.py, and from Django import forms. All right, so now we're going to actually create a email form. So just very simple. All it's going to do is have an email. That's it. So class email form, and it's forms.form. And it's going to be email equals to forms.email field and max length of, let's say, 200. That's a really long email, but let's just put it in there. All right, so this actually creates the form for me. So we've seen using forms before. We've done it quite a bit in accounts. So we're not going to work with a whole lot of stuff here. It already has built-in validators for an email, which is good. So like if we look at our old forms, we had the username validators and all this stuff. We won't need that in this one. So we can actually use this email form now, and we want to put this into our view. So the view for the home page is under products and views, and then home. So it's right here. This is the home page right here. So I'm going to go ahead and import it. So from actually right above marketing modals, from marketing.forms, import email form. Right, so email form right there. And now down in our context for home, this is where we're going to set up our form. So form equals to email form request.post or none. And then if form.is valid, we're going to print form.cleaned data email. All right, so this is going to actually have the form render, and we'll see that clean data. So I'm going to copy this. Form in form. All right, so we've added it into as our context variable. So now in modal.html, let's add our form here. I'm going to get rid of, or actually I'm going to comment out this input. So with command /, and then I'll do form.asp. So let's refresh and let's go back into our home page here. And we've got our form actually showing up, which is great. That's what we want to see. All right, so now let's actually make it a HTML form. So form method equals to post, action equals to nothing, and then CSRF token, end off the form, and we also need to put input type equals to submit, and class equals to btn success. Right, so if we refresh in here again, now we've got our form. If I hit submit, it says this field is required. Perfect. So I'll just do codingforentrepreneurs@gmail, hit submit. Great. It reloads the page itself because it was actually sent. But now we've got this email here. So if we look into our view, we see, okay, cool. Now we've got print form clean data. All right, so now I'm actually going to change the method of the form to a different view, right? So the action, not the method, but the action to a different view. So for us to do that, we actually have to create a view for it. And I'm going to put it into marketing. And I'm going to create a new view in here called def get email sign up, or get email marketing. How about that? Okay. And then we're just going to take in a request. And we can copy the view, or at least a lot of it, these two things right here, and paste it in here. And now we're going to have to print or import, from .forms, import email form. All right, so we definitely need to have that email form imported in order for this view to work. And now we're just going to return a response if the form's valid. We're going to return HTTP response, which we already have imported up here. And we're just going to say success. So if the form's valid, that's what it's going to do. And another thing that I actually want to do in here is get rid of this or none. And I'll just say if request.method equals to post, then we're going to do all this stuff. Else, we're going to raise HTTP 404. Notice I'm trying to set it up very similar to the AJAX call that we've done before. And make sure I spell success correctly. It's actually very similar. All right. So now that we've got this, we actually have to create a URL for this. So let's go into our URLs, into URLs here. And I will call it AJAX because we will eventually turn it into AJAX. So R and then AJAX dot join our email signup. $, there we go. So marketing, actually we should change the marketing views to also to email signup, because that's probably a little bit better of a descriptor. All right, so now we get the view itself. So marketing.views.email signup, and we'll call this name, I'll call it AJAX email signup, because we also might want to use email signup again later. So I'll just call it AJAX email signup. Okay, so now we've got this view here, so let's go ahead and copy this. And I'm going to go into our, we want to go into our modal.html and change the action now to be URL, use the double quotes, and now it's AJAX email signup. So if we go into our page here and we refresh, I don't want to submit it again. Syntax error, line 24. So let's actually take a look at line 24 on our project. 24. It's got to be something with this right here. Put those as single quotes. Don't see what the error is. Cannot import marketing signup view. Email signup is what it is. Email signup, okay. Might have had something to do with the saves, okay, and it did. All right, so now if I go to inspect element on this modal, we'll see that our form, so open up the form right here is the action is going to AJAX email signup. Good, so now if I do coding for entrepreneurs at Gmail, hit save changes, oh, not save changes, but submit, it sends back this blank page of success. And that's because of our HTTP response, what we did. So we have a response in our view. I'm going to close out, or actually in the home page view, I'm going to get rid of the if form is valid because we don't need that anymore. Eventually we'll get rid of this entire thing, but for now we'll leave it. But in our marketing view, we see that it says return HTTP response success. So that means that it's going to only show up as HTTP response, right? It's only going to come in as success. Now, we could also put the email in here. So %s and then do %, let's say email. And now I'll just say email equals to that. So going back, I submitted it again. It says success, coding for entrepreneurs at Gmail. Cool. So that is working. Now, if we try and go to this page itself, it says page not found. The only reason that page is showing up is because of how we have our modal set up currently, and it's not actually running with Ajax. So now what we want to do is we're going to actually set it up to actually work with Ajax, and this takes a little bit more time and a little bit more effort. It's not as simple as this, because what if the form is not valid? Those are the things that you have to worry about. So if I go like this and hit submit, it might say that, but if I say this, it didn't return an HTTP response object, because it doesn't. So let's actually take a look at our view, and we see that it's if the request method is post, which it is, and then we've got this form, and then if it's valid, then it'll show this stuff. We don't have something if it's not valid. So all we have to do is if form.errors, we can print those form.errors. We can see what those look like in our terminal. But we can also convert these errors into JSON. So we'll just do JSON data equals to JSON.dumps and form.errors. Oops, let's spell dumps correctly. So now this has converted it into a JSON dictionary. So we can now return HTTP response, and it's going to be JSON data and then content type equals to application JSON. So let's actually take a look at that, and we'll do a refresh in here. Go ahead and hit continue. And it says email is the error, and then it has a list, which in this case is just enter a valid email address. That's the only error that's wrong with it, which is good. So this is getting closer to having Ajax. So now all we will need to do is convert our form into Ajax, or at least into a form that works on any page, not necessarily just the home page, and then it'll still go through here. So let's actually go ahead and take a look at our modal, and we'll see it. So if I go to inspect element here, I'm just going to look at the ID of this email address, and notice how it's rendered. It says ID underscore email. So the ID itself is that, and then other than that, it's pretty much straightforward. So let's go into our form in the modal, get rid of this form SP, and just put input type equals to email. And then let's just, actually we can go ahead and copy this completely. So I'm going to go ahead and edit attribute. So edit attribute, sorry, not edit attribute, but edit as HTML. We're going to copy this whole thing here, copy that, go back into Sublime Text, and instead of what I started doing, is just paste this in, and we'll just do class equals to form control. So form control is something from Bootstrap. So now if we refresh in here, it now shows that email, but it's now one long email address. So we can also change this to being with a placeholder of your email. And then this submit button or save change button is really what we should have our submit button be. So let's put this down here and keep it as that. So I'm going to also remove this other button, save changes. All right, so now we've got those two things, and then I also need to put the form outside this. So I'm actually going to make the entire modal a form. Just put this at the very top. All right, so now I refresh in here, coding for entrepreneurs at Gmail, hit submit, it says success, and if I do it for something else, it's going to give us the error. Cool. So that means that our form does not have to be rendered through the view. So let's go back into our homepage view, and let's just get rid of this. We don't need it anymore. All right, so we can do coding for entrepreneurs at Gmail here, and we could also do it on a different page, and it's going to work either way. Cool. So now I'm going to change or I'll leave it as so it shows right away, just for now. So all we need to do now is convert this into being Ajax, which isn't too much more than what we've got here, but there are some things that we need to actually go through in order for this to work. All right, so we will see you in the next one.